it's 6:45, and according to our agenda, at 6:45, we start the public hearing on local law number 4 of 2021, some proposed zoning amendments. So I would like to call the public hearing to order, and we'll advise everybody that this public hearing is properly noticed in the town papers and on the email. So I will now open the public hearing to comment.
Can I ask a question? What is the public paper of record?
The Columbia paper
Okay,
and the
got it.
Manchester Star.
Thank you.
So we'll open the public hearing to comments. Anybody have any comments on local law number 4? Anybody have any comments on local law number 4? Anybody on Zoom have any comments on local law number 4? Yes, sir.
Mr. Supervisor, if I may, thank you, Stacy, for fixing my pants. Taylor Palmer with the law firm Cuddy and Fader. We do have one point of clarification on local law number 4. It relates to the streams, just identifying it as the 2 types of streams that are listed in the law. I think it was a TC and a, let me tell you, one sec, please. It was a CT and a CS, just confirming those are the 2 types of streams that relate to the stream buffers in the local law. Those are the 2 questions.
What he says.
Mr. Clark.
I'm not sure I understood your point or your question.
There's a setback requirement listed in the law that was added from stream buffer. There was stream buffer that was incorporated into the local law, and it's from 2 specific types of streams. They're classifications for those types of streams.
The CT and CTS,
Yes.
I think if you were familiar with New York State DEC, you would find that those are trout streams.
No, thank you for the clarification. I'm just ensuring that those are the streams that are included in the law. So that
They are included in the law.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay,
That's it. Thank you for entertaining me.
not a problem. How many people do we have on Zoom?
17.
17. Ooh. Anybody on Zoom interested in making a comment about local law number 4? Just so everybody's aware, when we close the public hearing, we will do some additional work later on some seeker stuff, but we will not consider this law for adoption tonight because the county planning board has not yet responded with their comments and their time frame has not yet elapsed. So we will give them the time to respond and we will consider this for adoption next month. So let me ask one more time, any other comments about local law number 4?
You keep the public hearing open?
No, we'll close the public hearing because there don't seem to be a lot of comments. I will ask one more time.
Somebody?
Pardon me. This is not a public hearing, right?
No, this
Okay,
is not a public hearing.
yeah. Thank you.
This is
a public hearing. This is a public hearing, I'm sorry.
Oh, is this the reopening of the public hearing on?
No,
No,
this is a
it's
public
different.
hearing on a specific town local law proposal.
Thank you.
Right.
Can we have Joanna?
Hi, most of you guys know I'm Johanna Skoda. I do have a question about all of this. So it's my understanding that by having this meeting, we're trying to get an exception to the zoning laws, correct?
No, the meeting that we're having now, Joanna, is a public hearing on a proposed series of zoning amendments to the town zoning law. Has nothing to do specifically with the request for consideration of a zoning change by the Iron Star Retreat Center organization. That is not what we're dealing with. We're simply dealing with a proposed set of zoning amendments to the town zoning law.
Right now.
Okay. My one question is though, like, is this possible that every time like somebody wants to build something or add something to town, can they propose to possibly change a zoning law then?
This meeting has nothing to do with that question. I guess the answer is, if people want to petition the town for a zoning change, under the current law, they can do that. And under the current law, the town board does not have to accept the request. But if the town board does accept the request, there is an extensive process that the town board would go through, including reviewing the request with the planning board, the county planning board, doing a public hearing, doing seeker, and going through all the steps you would normally go through before the town board would make a decision. Or the town board could simply say, we don't think this is a good idea, we don't want to do it. And that would be the end of it, because the town board under the law has no obligation to entertain these petitions.
Okay, I guess I was just more or less asking about the procedure. All right.
Okay, thank you. Other questions or comments? Any other questions or comments? No other questions or comments? Do I get a motion to close the public hearing, please?
Madeline makes, I second.
Madeline made the motion, you seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Monica there?
Monica, are you there?
She should be taking minutes.
I'm here. Just, there's a lot of feedback on this, it seems. So if when you make motions and seconds and say yeses and nos, can somebody, maybe Art, just repeat them so that I catch them clearly? Because with your masks on, it's very hard to hear.
Okay, Madeline made the motion to close the public hearing. You seconded it, and it was unanimously approved.
I got it.
The public hearing is now closed. Okay, the second public hearing is not scheduled to start until 7 o'clock. So why don't we all take a few minutes, take a walk outside on this beautiful evening. Listen to the government voice. I would like to call the public hearing on local law number 5 to order. Thank you all for being here. This local law was properly noticed in the town's newspaper, on the website, and on the town email. This is a local law setting salaries for certain elected officials for 2022. Let me open the public hearing up for comment. Anybody have any comments on local law number 5? Anybody have any comments on local law number 5? Anybody read local law number 5?
Gonna give a recap?
Well, this is something we described last month. We circulated a quick description of it in my letter this month.
Yes.
Basically, there is a $5,000 3% change in the proposed aggregate salaries for a half a dozen elected officials.
Right.
And because we did not disclose these numbers in the preliminary budget public hearing and public notice, we have to do a local law, and that's what we're going through the process of doing. Bonnie did some homework and found that Ancram salaries are at the low end of the county.
Thank you.
So even with these additional 3 percentage points of increase, we are still at the bottom end of the county. So that's the kind of background, and with all that information now, does anybody have any comments? Anybody
Yeah.
on Zoom have any comments? Carol, you've got to have a comment. Okay,
I'm always too, but I don't on the salaries. I'm happy that the salaries are being increased, particularly if we're on the low end.
yeah. Okay. Well, let me ask again, any comments? Any comments? Any comments? Okay, we can close the public hearing. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Bonnie made the motion, Hugh seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Meeting is closed, public hearing is closed. Thank you very much. It's now 7:01. Town board meeting is scheduled to start at 7:15. So we have another short intermission. Okay, just so everybody can get ready, the first item that we're going to deal with after the minutes is Kelsey West.
Right.
Kelsey, are you there?
I don't have that many.
Excuse me, can you guys keep it down because people can't hear on Zoom if you are chattering away. Kelsey, are you out there?
That's not changing anything.
If you're out there, please raise your hand so I can unmute you. It's Kelsey West.
Yeah. I just asked her to unmute.
Yeah, unmute her because she's going to be doing the next segment.
Hi there. I'm so sorry. I just couldn't get the unmute button working.
Okay, so you're there.
I am. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, we're almost ready to start and we'll put you on first after we do the salute to the flag, the minutes and the recusal.
Sure. Thank you so much.
And Colleen, you're here as well. You can chime in, hopefully. Well, you don't want to start too soon,
No.
but I have learned my lesson about the length of public hearings.
Yes.
2
Well,
minutes.
that's our.
We'll fix it next time.
Depends on the subject of the public
That's
hearing.
true. Well, look, it is 7:15. I would like to call the December town board meeting to order. Please join me for salute to the flag. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, thank you all for being here. We have an action-packed agenda tonight. First, I'd like to check to see if there's anything any town board member has to recuse on that is on the agenda. Everybody good? Okay, thank you. Minutes from the November town board meeting and the public hearings. Has everybody had a chance to look at it? 18 pages. Pretty impressive, Monica. Thank you very much.
I'm writing a book this time.
Okay, so could I get a motion to approve the minutes as presented, please?
So moved.
Second.
Bonnie and David, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Now we'll go to climate smart planning with Kelsey West and Colleen. Kelsey, what do you have for us?
Okay. Sorry. The unmute button is just giving me a hard time tonight. So thanks so much for having me this evening. I do have like a presentation I could share. I don't know if you're set up for that this evening. It's really not necessary. I don't want to put a hold on production here. All right. Sounds like we'll skip that. So I'm from Cornell Cooperative Extension of Columbia and Greene counties, and we worked this year with the town of Ancram on completing a climate smart resiliency planning tool. These projects were completed as part of CCE's Climate Resilience Partnership, which is just an organization or partnership comprised of 5 Cornell Cooperative Extension associations, and we're funded by New York State Water Resources Institute at Cornell with support from DEC's Hudson River Estuary Program. And so we really kind of over since 2012, we've begun shifting our focus on helping municipalities with completing actions that support their climate smart community certification. And we've really focused on climate adaptation action. So those that you'll find under Pledge Element 7 in the program. And in the interest of time, I'll kind of skip over some of the background on climate smart communities since you have an active task force and you're pursuing certification already. So the tool itself that we completed, it's basically just a state developed community plan checklist that helps identify climate resilience gaps in plans and policy. And so basically it's just a big spreadsheet that asks specific questions about different documents and covers 6 main planning areas that are key to climate resilience. They include the general community plan checklist, a risk and vulnerability assessment, public outreach and engagement, planning integration, disaster preparedness and recovery, and hazard mitigation implementation. So the idea is just that the tool helps local decision makers identify planning and adaptation opportunities to improve resilience through planning mechanisms, public engagement, and disaster preparedness. So after completing the big spreadsheet and answering those questions, which I think you all had a chance to review this tool itself, but we also put together a summary report that provides recommendations to address any gaps that we found. And the report's basically just designed to satisfy climate smart communities recommendations. And the recommendation summary, it's not a checklist of things that you have to do. I would recommend that maybe from that list, you identify a few priorities that are in line with more near-term goals, and also just incorporating some of these ideas as routine updates are made. And if you do identify a few longer term projects that might require consulting or some other funding, that would also be great too. But, folks have asked through the process, if any other towns have implemented any of these recommendations. And we've completed this tool with 10 different municipalities, and we found that some have taken on some larger projects. One village actually did a whole comprehensive plan update, and they included climate resilience and their overall vision. And they also addressed climate projections as a threat to their community. Some other communities have done trainings to address climate resilience, including energy code enforcement trainings. Some communities have gone as far as actually completing their certification for climate smart communities. And another popular one is including disaster preparedness resources and climate preparedness resources on town websites. So overall, towns have really just been completing these recommendations as opportunities occur. And the staff at CCE, as we identify opportunities, so potential funding sources, any trainings that come up, and really any relevant info, will kind of pass that along to the municipalities that we worked with on this project. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm hoping you have the document in front of you, but there are those 6 main sections, but it might make sense to kind of prioritize some of the recommendations that align with climate smart communities actions and kind of overlap with some of the task force's goals. So one action to highlight, and that is under the public engagement and outreach section of the summary document. So one recommendation is to include the disaster preparedness resources on the town's website, and this overlaps with the Climate Smart Communities Action that awards points for local climate action website. So I discussed this with Susan and Colleen, since we last spoke, I've contacted Liz LaJudas from Resilience Communications and Consulting LLC, and she'll be able to actually help develop some of this web content in 2022 at no cost to the town. So that's one thing off of the recommendations checklist. There's some other larger projects that definitely fall under the purview of the task force, but they might not have the capacity to complete right now. So Susan and Colleen have identified that the task force could possibly serve as an advisory role to the town board if you choose to implement any of these recommendations at the town level. So Through the process, we also identified a few plans that were a little outdated that you might want to consider revisiting or updating. These include the flood damage prevention ordinance, which was from 1990. There's a 2008 community development and strategic plan, I think, and also the groundwater protection plan was from 2008 as well. So the summary document has some information about what would be valuable to include in updates that could increase climate resilience. So those are just some things that might be of interest to you just to kind of look at and, you know, check out. But there are other plans that the town does not have that you might find valuable. One could be an open space plan. I know this might have been in discussion before, and Ancram has a really wonderful natural resource conservation plan that, you know, an open space plan could possibly piggyback off of. The town also lacks a floodplain management plan. So if you're taking a look at your flood damage prevention ordinance, you might want to just take the next step and complete a full-fledged floodplain management plan. It seems to align with a lot of the work being done in the county for overall watershed management, and floodplain management also will become increasingly important as we continue to see increased storm severity and increased flooding potential as well. Stormwater management plans are also really valuable to develop. They help maintain and manage water quality, especially in relation to runoff, and reducing flood potential, and of course, benefits to public health. And lastly, some municipalities have begun creating climate action plans. They include measures and policies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and also increase climate adaptation. So this would require some monitoring and assessment of the town's current emissions and is usually a heavy lift. But one thing to note is that if the town is successful in becoming climate smart community certified, your scores on some grant funded opportunities you'll be in better standing. So there's a potential to use that opportunity to get maybe one or a few or some of these plans funded through that way. So other things that we noticed as gaps through this process, or things that just might be a little easier to implement short term. There are a couple of great trainings that municipal staff can participate in. Some of these trainings relate to flood prone residential, to retrofitting flood prone buildings. There's also a FEMA coastal construction manual training that, you know, deals with coastal flooding, which might not be super relevant, but also post flood stream intervention trainings could be an option as well.
By the time Ancram becomes coastal, we're all going to be in serious trouble.
We're going to be in some trouble, yeah. I don't know, with all the precipitation we've been getting, I'm starting to think that it'll be sooner rather than later. But anyway, there are also the Ancram emergency management plan or emergency response plan is a really great document, but it does lack some information or there's not a standalone evacuation plan. So you could consider, I know that's a really recent document, but as that kind of ages out, it might behoove you to include information about evacuation routes, timelines for evacuation, and identifying community members or parts of the community that might have special circumstances and might need plans for transportation. So this was kind of just a rapid fire rundown of what was in that tool. You know, certainly, you know, just recommendations. And if you do decide to look at implementing any of these, you can certainly look to CCE as a resource. We'll be working with the task force again next year to work on actually certifying for climate smart communities. So, you know, please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or if, you know, you're looking for particular resources about any of this work.
Kelsey, thank you very much. A lot of work went into this. How long have you been working on this?
Well, the project kicked off at the beginning of the year, but, you know, we just chip away at it as we can.
Colleen, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Not at this time. I think Kelsey did a really great job, kind of a very upper level overview. I'm happy to answer any questions or from anyone at
Well,
any time.
is Susan Flam on Zoom? Susan, are you there? If you are, raise your hand so you can get unmuted here. and can add any comments. And Jamie Purington, are you out there somewhere?
Yes, she is.
If Jamie has any comments?
Oh, I just wanted to mention to Jamie that I really appreciate your comments about the flood guide, and I'll get back to you shortly about that.
So Susan or Jamie, do you guys have anything you'd like to add?
Can you hear me now?
Sorry.
Can you hear me, Art?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I was just going to add that, thank you to Kelsey also. And we look forward to trying to wrap our arms around this and serve as a resource to the board as to how to move forward. And we look forward to the input from others in town and other committees. They're particularly working on flooding issues and conservation. And I think it's an all hands-on approach to try and decide how to go forward and how to use resources. But thank you so much, Kelsey. It's been a pleasure to work with you. Thanks.
Thanks so much for all of your time this evening.
Jamie, are you out there?
Yes, I have nothing to add, just thanks to Kelsey.
Okay, thank you very much. Town board, any questions, comments?
One quick one. When Art and I met with the DEC representative in June, he acknowledged that Columbia County was well behind in digitizing their firm maps. Do you have any updated information on Columbia County update of their maps?
The last I heard, they were really slowly getting around to those updates. My understanding is the last time it was updated was sometime in the 80s. They haven't revealed any of their secrets of their timeline of when they're getting to different areas of New York. So I'm sorry, I don't have any updates for you on that.
Thank you.
Okay. Madeline, any questions? David? Bonnie?
So just thank you for all your work and the committee as well,
Yeah, I think
task force.
as a next step, what I'd like to do is ask CAC and the Climate Smart Task Force, with your help and Colleen's help, to figure out the top 3 or 4 things we ought to focus on and give us a specific set of ideas on what to do, roughly how much it's going to cost, roughly how much time it's going to take, so we can start looking for the money and begin gearing up to get some of these things done. So I think CAC and Climate Smart should probably take the lead in that, but if you can participate in that, that would be very helpful to us. And Jamie and Susan, is that okay with the 2 of you? Unmuting is, well, I'll assume that silence is agreement. And I'll talk with both Jamie and Susan after the meeting. And Colleen, I'd love for you to participate in this, as you're a member, I think, of both of those groups, aren't you? That is good. Okay, well, Kelsey, thank you so much. We really appreciate all your help and look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thanks. Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Thank you. Okay. Iron Star petition for zoning map revision.
All right. This time I fixed my own pants. Mr. Supervisor, members of the town board, it's a pleasure to be before you this evening. Thank you for taking the opportunity to meet with us in person and on Zoom. For the record, my name is Taylor Palmer. I am a partner with the law firm.
Thank you.
Oh, same as hiding the ball spot. We talked about that. These guys are killing me. Again, for the record, Taylor Palmer, I'm a partner with the law firm of Cuddy and Fader on behalf of the applicant. Tonight I am joined by Stacy Sergen, the applicant and property owner of the property that's before you. I'm also joined by our project engineer, Mike Bodendorf of Hudson Land Design. Our project surveyor is Wesley Chase. As the supervisor mentioned, we are before you this evening in connection with the request for a zoning map amendment to your town of Ancram zoning map. It's proposing to remap a 13.27 acre portion of the nearly 150 acre property that the applicant owns. from the Ancram Hamlet, or I'll be saying AHR2, even though it's probably harder for me to say than Ancram Hamlet, zoning district to the Ag zoning district. Approximately 90% of the property is zoned already in the Ag zoning district, and we're trying to align that existing carve out with the remainder balance of the property. As you can see from the nearly nearly 150 acre property, it is presently comprised of 4 separate lots. It's on the south side of New York State Route 82. It's west of Wilsey Bridge Road, northwest of Rose Drive, and east of Pool Hill Road. Again, the 90% of the property as existing is classified in the town's Ag zoning district, and a portion of that property is zoned in the AHR2. The property is also located in Columbia County's Agricultural District Number 1. The applicant is currently in the process of constructing, and Mr. Bodenberg, by the way, will walk you through, I know tonight's about our zoning petition, but if you do have questions about the specific application that is before you, we do have additional details, but Mr. Bodendorf will specifically walk through the visuals that are up on the board. The applicant is currently constructing her home in the location of the previous house that had been built on the site. It had been destroyed by a fire. And then 3 mobile homes that were previously on the frontage along the highway have since been demolished on the site. As is more fully detailed in our zoning petition, the applicant is presently before your planning board, and that creates the sort of the seeker process review with respect to this application, or the environmental review. She's there for a subdivision or a lot line adjustment. We're not creating any new lots, but there is a subdivision application associated with the lot line adjustment. There's a site plan application and a special use permit application, all permitted uses in the Ag zoning district in the town. As part of that process, we need to seek the zoning map amendment related to this portion of the property. Again, the majority of the site, which Mr. Bodendorf will walk you through, and the real meat of the proposal of the application is already located in the Ag district portions of the property, but there are some ancillary uses, and I'll just speak to those now. Specifically, the accessory uses that are located presently on the proposed application, specifically in the orange carve out that you see up on the board before you. By the way, for those at home, this is incorporated. All of these materials are included in our petition that's presently posted online and on the applicant's website as requested by the town. There's a organics farm building, because a part of the component of the retreat center is a farm operation, a farm machinery building. There is a roadway, a horse path, and a parking area, and then some stormwater mitigation. So that's what's located essentially in the portion of the property that we're seeking to rezone. It's related to the application, but as we'll show you in a minute, some visuals that are in your petition that relate to the 1972 zoning map, and then the more current zoning map that's before you. There isn't any recognized continuity or a real understanding as to why that carve out exists. It is not an extension of the hamlet. But again, we've spoken to your planner who may be on the call today, and our surveyor as well. There really is no understanding about why that carve out existed into the site. It didn't line up with any lot lines or any historic zoning classification. So it's an interesting piece there. During the process, again, we did meet with the building inspector and the code enforcement officer, and they determined that these accessory uses, which are part of the retreat center, could not be zoned, or could not be, essentially a retreat center could not be developed in that specific carve out. That's just not a use in that district. If you look at the use table, which is incorporated in our submission, the uses in the AHR2 and the Ag district are almost, are pretty similar. I mean, as far as whether it's affordable, workforce or affordable housing, or any of the housing development components, they're pretty similar. The specific retreat center is permitted in the Ag district and is not explicitly permitted in the AHR2 portion. So as a result, the building inspector determined that we would need to either seek a use variance or appear before you in connection with this petition for the zoning map amendment. I did note, while the AHR2 designation is only for the limited portion of the property for these specific uses, again, affordable housing, multifamily housing, 2-family can be developed in either of these districts. So that doesn't change by the change that we're proposing here. It should also be noted, I believe I mentioned it previously, there are no zoning or lot boundaries that align with this carve out. It's just, so it's unknown why that was created that way. It doesn't line up with prior survey maps. So ultimately, we're still not clear why it was laid out that way. And this proposed mapping would result in the total parcel. So again, the parcel surrounds this orange sliver. So on the west, the east, and the south, the property is fully surrounded by ag zoning. The whole property would therefore be agriculturally zoned. Further, we would note, and this is more fully detailed in our petition, it is fully consistent with the spirit of your comprehensive plan, which is keeping Ancram, in part, keeping Ancram the same, but better. And it furthers the intent of your comprehensive plan in keeping with the standing of the existing zoning classifications around the property. This will allow the Iron Star Retreat Center to have a better site layout and development, which will preserve open space. It'll promote the agricultural uses that are contemplated in the application. It will attract visitors. The retreat center will create jobs. And we're also proposing to create affordable farm worker housing on the site, including in the barn, the existing barn that's on the property and actually located in this district. I might add, farm worker housing is permitted in either the ag or the AHR2. So this is just a sort of a cleaning up of an unknown area of the parcel. But again, it is still in furtherance of the town's comprehensive plan and goals by trying to make sure that this development can really can further some of those goals. And this really lines up with the existing character there. With that, I will ask Mike just to kind of walk you through. I think he's got a couple visuals up there. And I may also refer you to some of our petition materials just for reference purposes, because sometimes it's really easier to sort of see this. It's easy to see it on our plan, but then when you look at it in the context of your zoning map, it's really somewhat of a puzzle as to why this isn't already zoned ag.
Thank you, Taylor. Good evening, everyone. For the record, Mike Goldenberg, engineer for the applicant, the petitioner in this case. So the plans that were provided to you were just a blow up of this area, which is the central north portion of the entire parcel. The parcel is bound by 82 on its north and east sides. And it's sort of bifurcated by an existing stream that runs through the property. And that does sort of follow one of the zoning lines. They follow the stream with the zoning line, but this line doesn't really follow any geologic feature or stone wall or anything. So, that was sort of a, just unusual zoning line there. But I'll just kind of work from the west side to the east side of the site. There is a ridge line here, wooded. There's existing open fields here, and this is going to be the camping side of the site. We have a emergency access road to just provide emergency access in the event of any emergency on the west side. As we move to the central portion of the site, this would be the parking lot for the camping area, and this is the access to get to that parking lot. There is an existing farm road that connects that parking lot to the west side, and that will allow access for campers to get up to their sites by walking, or they'll be driven up there by the retreat center. There's no cars that will be up on this side. So again, this is the hamlet zone. We have an access road. We have some stormwater management in that area. We have a couple proposed barns, organics building, and just farm storage building. And they're difficult to tell, but there's that existing barn you may know that's right near the street on the site. There's an existing residential structure here that will be renovated to be an inn to provide overnight accommodations. And as Taylor mentioned, there's some amenity buildings. They're denoted by these purple buildings. And then as we move further south along the east side, we have an access road that provides access off of 82 on the east side, and internally access to the 4 creek houses that we have proposed. And these are also for overnight accommodations. That's generally it. There's nothing really proposed in the central portion of the site. This is the site of the applicant's house that will be rebuilt where the former house was destroyed by fire.
And just for to finish our brief presentation, in your packages, it's exhibits D and I. Exhibit D is your current zoning map, and exhibit I is your 1972 zoning map. And they just help illustrate. I don't think Mike has them in full size. We do have additional copies if it's easier if you want us to pass them out. But they Pass these out so you can see. Just pass them on. Yeah, thank you. No, just out to the board, to the board. So again, these show, what these maps show, is there was some change, in fact, a portion of, if we're looking at the 1972 zoning map, there was a portion of the property that was also zoned in a prior zoning district. Again, it didn't line up with the lot boundary. That was removed in the current zoning map, which you can see, it's only this carve out portion. If you were to look at the aerial, which we incorporate in Exhibit A of your submission, you can see that, you know, and you're all familiar, of course, with the hamlet and where it extends. It is not an extension of either your historic district or your hamlet. So ultimately, we're here before you really just to try and clean up what is an existing condition on this map. At least that's how we've looked at it. We haven't seen other reasons to believe why it wasn't done that way. But again, the retreat center can be developed without that portion being classified that way. But this is a way to do it in a more effective way and in a way that can be done to preserve the best and you best utilize the property with as minimal impacts to adjoining property owners and the property itself.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Question, apart from the 4 creek houses, aren't there gonna be 2 other houses? Larger houses?
So,
Guests?
so just to clarify, just if I may, one clarification. So you mean on the property itself?
Yeah.
So the applicant is, as Mr. Bodek mentioned, she's building her own home. So it's not part of the retreat center application. She's building her home in the location of the home that had burned down on the lot. And there's an existing barn that was approved with as an accessory
Oh,
apartment.
okay. So those are the 2 other larger buildings. that will be-
Yeah, this.
Right, so this one-
And then this is where that existing
Right,
house.
that's the existing house. So this will be the end. There used to be a mobile home, essentially off this driveway here, and then there were 2 mobile homes in that location. And then the farm worker housing would be in the portion of the existing barn.
Can I ask a question about the farm worker housing?
Please.
I noticed that they only had 1 bedroom. Yes. I don't understand why a house would be built with just 1 bedroom, especially if the farm worker is going to bring his family.
So that's a great question. Right now, we're still really in the site development plan review with the planning board. So that is one of the components we're trying to make, available. Because again, it will be providing jobs, and jobs may also require additional places to live if those folks don't already live in town or nearby areas. So we're trying to make ways to really, again, bring back and really, continue operating the agricultural use of the site and encourage that functionality and to be able to do so, providing affordable housing for farm workers.
Where is this proposed farm going to be?
Mike, do you want to just walk through some of the agricultural areas that are existing on the ridge and so forth?
Well, I'm sorry, what was the question?
Where the organic farm is going to be?
Well, this is a farm, this is a organics building. The farming will take place in the open areas that are already there. There's 2 existing fields here that will be farmed. There's fields along the east side here that will be farmed.
So much of the same area that has
And
traditionally been
all
farmed on the
going
site.
to be organic farming.
What's gonna be grown there? Does you know that?
Just speaking for the applicant, we have engaged or put out an RFP to try and encourage farmers to contact us about what's traditionally been grown.
But it's being farmed right now.
Yes, but
That's right.
there
These
are,
already being farmed.
These 2 fields here are currently farmed. I think you've rotated corn and
Soybeans being
soybeans for the
farmed,
last couple of years.
and the whole other parts are being cut for hay.
Do you know that I think that in order to grow organic, to be certified
Mhm.
organic, I think the property has to lie fallow or with cover crops for 5 years.
The top 2 fields on the top have not been touched in over 10 years.
Okay.
These areas right here have not been touched in 10 years.
Okay.
This area has not been farmed, it's just been cut. It's grass that's cut for hay. The only areas being farmed are these 2 fields right here. These 2 fields right here that are being farmed for soy and corn, which I inherited when I bought the property, and I didn't get rid of them because I don't know what I'm doing yet. So I left them there. The vegetable farm is gonna be in this area, okay? It's not gonna be fully organic farming along the site. It's gonna have livestock. I'm engaging a goat farmer right now who makes goat cheese. So her goats will be moving around the property. In addition to that, I'm engaging a bee farmer who currently sets up bee apiaries, so there'll be some bees going on in here. And there's gonna be horses, so farming, there'll be a vegetable farm, there'll be livestock, and there'll be bees. That's, you know, I understand what you're saying, if you have to lay dormant for 5 years to convert these back over to organic farming, then if we want to put vegetable farms over here, we'll do that. But
Importantly,
right now, farming is
we're
going on.
engaging professionals and we've already consulted with the existing farmer that has worked the property, and we're engaging other professionals farmers that will be maintaining and operating these.
I'm hoping to bring the farmers there this spring, but because it's in front of the board as an open application, I've been advised by my attorney not to touch anything until decisions are made. So I might be able to have animals according to Ed Ferrado, but we'll see.
On her property, separate line.
So how many trailers were on that property that were removed?
There were 3 total.
And were they occupied?
2 of them.
So they were livable?
Well, depends on what you think is livable.
Well, if people were living there.
That's true. That's true.
And we're again encouraging the new farm worker housing, which really, I mean.
Well, that sounds like 2 apartments for people who work for you. That's what it sounds like.
But again, we're trying to, that an important thing that you'll see with any of the restaurants in town, and I don't need to just say the town of Ancram, but in restaurants or the businesses in general, is being able to bring in the work and then also provide a place for them to live. So it's an important caveat to have that ability, and it won't be limited. Sorry?
How many jobs do you expect to create?
There, for the hotel, I think the operator's anticipating 14 jobs. And the farming, there's at least 3 farmers,
We're talking at least 17 jobs.
approximately.
We're talking about housing for like 2 or 3.
We're revisiting how many houses, how many apartments
Just
we make. No, I'm not answering.
So, I mean, it's been commented from the public that you took away affordable housing already and you're gonna
Well,
put maybe a little.
Just so you know, when I sat
No,
down.
no, if I may, those uses are not permitted in the district, so they were existing nonconformities. You would require certain approvals for mobile home or trailer uses today under the current code. So again, they were existing nonconformities, and if there were any modifications or changes, they would have had to been, they wouldn't have complied with your current zoning.
Weren't 2 of the houses in the orange part?
I believe they're, I can't say specifically, but actually they're probably right on the.
Yeah, the 2 mobile homes are right on the line. Very close to.
Yeah, the storm, I mean, there's this,
I think if you check into that, that's the reason that orange part's there.
Yes, but the use,
There were
but if I may, if I
there were
may,
a bunch of travelers there at one point.
and if I may, those uses are permitted in both districts. So by reclassifying the property from AHR2 to AG, it changes nothing with multifamily housing, nothing. There's no change. You can do both uses in both districts. So if that's a concern, it can be done in either district.
And if you could explain to them that the parking lot could be put in a different part of the property.
Right, and again, the
But
proposal.
then I'm gonna have
the
to
retreat
carve
center-
along the whole ridge to make a road.
Just for, yeah, I think it's visually, it's clear from the board, but the project itself really isn't located in the portion that we're seeking reclassification. There are some components that can either be relocated or moved, but they don't make sense to, because this is where we're farming. That's the intent of it. The irony is, the things that will be used for the farm and can still, the multifamily housing or others can still be developed one way or the other, ag or AHR2. And again, the uses are really accessory. We don't necessarily agree with Mr. Parato's opinion with respect to a road not being a permitted accessory, or use, because roads, driveways cross through properties all the time for access easements or otherwise. But because of the existing area, and you can see in the visuals, everything is ag. The whole site is ag. The carve out for AHR2 didn't provide any real change or difference in the uses with respect to multifamily or otherwise. And again, there was another historic component from the old zoning map that had this classified for we're not sure the reason of that either. So ultimately, we're just trying to line up the property, the whole lot.
Going back to David's question about number of people employed, you said 14 at the hotel? And 4.
I don't want to say for sure, but I'm vetting 2 hotel operators right now, and one of them anticipated 14 full-time employees.
Okay, and then.
I don't know if that means on site or their
That's
back
okay.
office, I'm not sure.
Just order of magnitude.
Yes,
In addition, how many farming employees do you anticipate?
2 to 3.
2 to 3. And what about employees to support the glamping operation?
That's included in that.
in the 2 to 3?
No, in
14.
the
In the
14.
14, okay,
Correct.
fine. And then the question of where these 17 people live, are you planning to build housing for them, or are you expecting they will live in the area and will commute?
I think that we could build housing for some of them, like I said, the 14, I'm not sure if they consider them back office people, meaning not on property. A lot of hotel operators now, to streamline expenses, will have a back office that, let's say they serve 5 different hotels, so they don't need an accountant for
Right.
every single one. So I don't know if of the 14, they're not site, obviously, they're not all on site. I would imagine some of them are back office. I think there'll probably be 4 to 5 people on site for just the hotel, which includes the glamping, the amenities, and then there'll be 2 to 3 farmers dealing with the livestock and the vegetable farm and the bees.
That's all.
So you think 4 to 5 can, and you can also run the restaurant?
It's a
I'm
hotel.
just
operator.
asking.
No, it's possible there'll be more.
How many rooms?
Three.
Just in the
In the
end.
inn.
Oh, the inn is 5.
Right, so there's 5 rooms in the inn.
Can
I just don't see how, 4 to 5 on site are gonna run the inn and everything you're talking about running here, but that's just, I'm just asking.
No, we can certainly look into that. I mean, associated with the retreat center operations, that is all being considered by the planning board in connection with the application. You know, we're actively before them and we're hearing the comments that were, as I mentioned, this is a type 1 action under seeker, so it's being coordinated review. So the planning board is going to actively have to proceed with its completed seeker review before an action will be able to be taken by the board. So we're actively, working these things into the design of the project, hearing public comments. The first hearing we had on the planning board was this month.
Right.
So, we're actively working those comments or suggestions and questions into the design of the project.
My question is about the glamping, and I know this isn't a public hearing, but I wonder how the zoning code is addressing this particular use in terms of services and residential development. I don't, have any particular concern about glamping, but I'm not really sure what it is. And does, is it actually plumbed and provided with electricity and septic and, so these are my concerns. And I know this isn't a public hearing, but I think it's something that when you do have your public hearing, people
Well, when we did,
may be
you
concerned about that.
can ask that question again.
Yeah.
And I'm pleased to address that, Mr. Supervisor, if I may. I'm happy to. I mean, again, these are all materials that are before the planning board, so they, Mr. Bodendorf, as the engineer, has designed septic systems in that area. There is potable water. All of that is part of the site plan review. That portion of the property is presently a permitted use, whether it's the retreat center or camping on its own, are both uses in the ag district that are permitted under the zoning. Notwithstanding, again, those uses will be, fully, you want to just give a 1-minute blurb on the glamping, the houses themselves, what they use as water, sewer, lighting.
Yeah, each, they're, the glamping structures.
Glamping, by the way, is glamorous camping, if I thought
So there'll be 3 sizes of camping structures that you can stay in. There's small studios that are these small ones here. Larger studios denoted by these dark purple, and then we have a couple duplex units here, which are just 2 bedrooms, but they're
not duplexes, so they're
well, yeah,
ranches.
they're
Right, they're not, there's no
So-
stairs in them,
on the west side.
or height.
We will have 1 well and a community sewage disposal system for all those structures. On the east side, each one of these structures will have its own well and sewage disposal system. We're also designing a new sewage disposal system for the inn. It already has one, but it's probably not big enough for what we're gonna be converting it to. And the amenity buildings will have their own well and sewage disposal system as well. It's the overall water usage is about similar to 12 houses.
And a big septic footprint.
number 4 in the policy that we recently adopted for zoning amendment.
Yeah.
Says you need to provide a detailed description of how the proposed amendment will benefit the town community as a whole and promote the general welfare.
Yeah.
Where do I find that?
In our submission?
Yeah.
So in our, we did incorporate, so we did submit a full, it's not our cover letter, but the actual zoning petition itself. So that follows the transmittal letter. We have a full detail of some of the, I sort of gave some of the shorthand, whether it's,
You know where I find that in?
sure. I will say it's a smattering, we'll call it, but zoning, current uses, proposed retreat center. So I would, at the beginning on page 7, it goes through the uses that are proposed, and then it goes to the requested remapping on page 8, and it talks about some of the benefits associated with the proposal, and then specifically page 9 discusses conformance with your comprehensive plan and community benefits. So it's a highlighted section on page 9. That's again not of the letter, but the actual zoning petition. But generally speaking, we respectfully submit that there are a number of benefits. We talked about the job creation. We did talk about again some of the farm worker housing. We are creating a farm. There is a organic farm operation that's proposed in connection with the application. We are trying to preserve as much of the open space as possible. We've hired One Nature, who would kill me if I say their name wrong, because I always say landscape architect, but they're landscape designers. So we're going through a heavy investigation of all of the site itself, or have already done so. We've done wetland delineations. We've done a lot here to really maximize and reutilize and repurpose existing features of the site. And again, build it in a way that the idea is to not really see much of any of it from the roadways. It's trying to really build it into the existing features on the site. And again, limit vehicle usage on the property. So there's a lot that we're working in here to try and bring, keeping things the same, but better. Something that your comprehensive plan highlight, I always found I got a kick out of that.
That's what it says. What people want.
And again, the proposal that's before you, the zoning map amendment, I mean, it really is making it a part of the property as it's been. It hasn't really stood out separately from the site. It's been, as far as we were able to review, it's been collectively part of the site,
So you're proposing to build a new road, right?
Correct. Two roads.
And that's going to be very close to the homes there.
So you mean this is just an emergency access road?
Yeah, but.
So what
It's
we
not a
utilize-
new road, it's an existing farm.
Right, it's an existing farm road, and this is the other existing farm road. So this is to be modified so that it would be emergency access, but it will not be used by.
According to New York State law, that's gonna be a significant road.
We gotta get you up the hill, and we wanna make sure.
I understand that, but in New York State law means it's gotta be 20 feet wide with an overhead capacity of 13 feet 6 inches. And it's gotta be able to sustain over an 80,000 pound vehicle. That's not gonna be a small road.
So again, it's not gonna be used by if the concern is impacts to adjoining property owners or neighbors, it's not going to be used. It's only to be used in case of an emergency. So it will be blocked off.
The building of it itself, you're gonna, it's rockways. Out property. As I understand it. And that's gonna be a massive impact to build that road, right?
Mike, could you speak to what the topography is under those roads right now?
Has New York State said that entryway onto the state highway is okay?
So we do have a traffic consultant, and that, I can't speak to the emergency access, but they have done site distance evaluations at each of the locations. So I don't know of the specific emergency access road, but again, it's not being utilized as a means of ingress and egress into the site, but for emergency only.
I understand that, but that's, if you're there in emergency, you still need sight lines.
Of course.
And that's actually a really bad corner.
Yeah. That's what
Where
We can speak to our traffic
Where-
consultants to that in the site plan review.
It's not
That
about
isn't part of
traffic,
the
it's about
class.
construction of this road.
Sorry?
It's not about traffic, it's about construction of this road. You have to blast out that rock there, and make it 20 feet long.
Yeah, I can't speak.
I don't think there is rock over there. Yeah, there's no rock over there.
There's not gonna be any blasting the rock because
There's no rock over there. It's all trees.
there is a small cut at the beginning of it, yes, and we will have a retaining wall, so we don't have to grade up that hill and take out significant amount of trees. But we're not anticipating any blasting too.
You have to build a big retaining wall.
We do have to build a retaining wall, yes.
And again, that's not part of
We have
the,
to grade up the hill and remove more trees. We don't want to do that. We want to try to keep it as it is now as much as possible.
and we'll also do what we can to minimize impacts. That is, again, an active part of the site plan review. We've had the one hearing to date. I believe that comment, about the location of the road, I think the chief may have mentioned that at the hearing itself. So we're certainly mindful of that. We are again trying to provide a safe means, but I think it goes to our discussion here. The road that we're providing for the parking area and a lot of those important accesses are also a part of the rezoning that's before you. So if this is, that will certainly allow us to be more flexible with the operations of the site, sort of, again, leaning towards why we're here before you. We want to make the best circulation on the site and really keep it away from the residential as well. Existing
David, do you
residential.
have any questions or comments?
I have no questions at this time. I think that what we have heard would prompt me to suggest that we ought to move to some sort of resolution this evening acknowledging receipt of the petition, which is not to signify in any way either a pro or con reaction to it. That we ought to take time to deliberate among ourselves based on information provided, questions that we haven't raised among ourselves yet, along with our consultants, and that we ought to reach a determination after all of that of whether or not to accept the position.
Okay, thank you. Lonnie, anything else at this point? Okay, David?
Our motion will be just that we have received the petition.
Yeah, let me, the resolution that we have drafted up has some background, and on the final page, the action items are as follows, but let me check with Marianne to see if she has anything else to add. Consider the resolutions. Okay, so the resolutions will be that the town board formally acknowledges receipt of the petition and supporting documents from the petitioner. The town board will review the petition and all supporting documentation in contemplation of making a subsequent decision whether to accept the petition for further and deeper review and consideration. This action item does not constitute acceptance of the petition, nor a decision by this board to proceed with the introduction proposed legislation advancing the amendment sought. As regards legal matters with this petition and upcoming process, the town board may consult with its legal counsel for purposes of obtaining legal advice on these matters. As regards land use planning matters associated with the petition and the upcoming process, the town board may consult with the town land use planning consultant. And this matter shall be placed on the agenda of the town board meeting to be held January 20th for further discussion and possible further action. There was one other proposal that we had here about setting an escrow, but I think we would like to wait. We should wait until we decide at the January 20th meeting what course of action we want to take before we establish an escrow. So we will eliminate any incremental escrow for tonight. So those 5 resolutions or 5 points to the resolution is, I think, what we should consider to adopt tonight by way of furthering this process. Any questions or comments about any of that? Any comments? Dave? Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You okay? Madam? Yeah. You have a motion?
I would move the resolution.
I'm not putting that.
Okay. So we have a motion for a second.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's my plan.
So let's do a roll call vote.
I don't have an agenda here.
Monica?
It's
to hear all that.
Can you do a roll call vote for us?
I'm sorry, any other questions?
No, we're good.
Oh, okay.
Just telling you stuff though.
I'm talking to our town clerk on Zoom.
Sorry.
And she is searching for the unmute button. And you know what? I've heard her do this
She
enough
needs to
times.
be unmuted by the host. She needs to
Okay,
be
okay,
unmuted by
I'm
the
here.
host.
Sorry, they had to unmute me on that end. I didn't catch who the second was. Who was the second? It was too loud in the background.
Madeline.
You made,
Madeline?
and Madeline seconded it.
Oh, Lynn has.
Okay. Okay, roll call vote. Councilwoman Hunt,
Yes.
Councilman Boyce,
Yes.
David, Supervisor Basson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Israel, Councilman Clark.
Yes.
Okay, so the resolution has been adopted as presented with the exception of eliminating the portion related to escrow. Monica, I will get you a clean copy of this so you can put it in the minutes.
Thank you. And I'm muting myself because I'm hiding on the second floor from my children. So if you need me, I think Steve's gonna have to unmute me probably in order for me to unmute myself.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate all
Thank
your
you.
time.
So hopefully we will reconvene on the 20th. And in the interim, we will be doing a lot of homework, a lot of thinking, and we'll hopefully be in a position to make a clear decision one way or the other on the 20th.
Understood. We appreciate it. Everyone stay healthy. Enjoy the holidays. Merry
Thank you,
Christmas.
you too.
And obviously, if there are any questions, we appreciate, your counsel. Mr. Lyons is very helpful, as is Nan. They're both excellent. So again, we appreciate that. Any questions you have, the applicant's here, and we're happy to through those. But otherwise, we'll see you in January and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, the air source heat pump RFP. Just want to let the town board know that we have issued the RFPs. We haven't received any proposals yet, but we have another 30. So hopefully we will get some before the end of the month. Historic banners, Lynn Perella has indicated that the costs that she gave us last month of $3,750 have increased to about $4,600 for a variety of reasons. So I'm proposing that we approve a revised budget not to exceed $5,000, just in case there are other little issues. So could I get a motion to approve that resolution, please?
Motion.
Madeline made the motion and David seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Town pool, anything new, David?
We're moving along. It is what it is.
Yeah, I guess we're not gonna know much more until early spring, are
I
we?
was gonna say, it's most of the time our lifeguards are teenagers, and you're not gonna get a teenager to commit to a job for next student right now.
Okay, the kids camp, I've been trying to reach out to Sarah Mason and Katie Gum, have not been able to reach them. I reached out to Sam, asking if she could put me in touch with Sarah, so I don't know if you know there. Madeline, thank you for agreeing to be the co-director. And I think as soon as I've talked to either Katie or Sam, or Katie or Sarah, to know if either of them might be available, we're not gonna know much more about the kids camp either. I've talked to Jane Plasman about having a meeting of the board early in January. And Madeline and Jane and I can arrange that, so we'll see where we are. The other possibility, if for some reason we cannot do a camp again this year, I'll make arrangements with Pine Plains, Copac, and Hillsdale for our kids to go to their camps. That seemed to work pretty well, the town paid for it. And we had probably 20 or 30 kids attending camp in these neighboring towns. Harassment training, we talked last time a little bit about some of the problems we were having with taking harassment seriously. Bonnie, I was wondering, do you want to talk about it a little bit tonight, or do you want to wait till Jack can?
Well, I mean, it came out of a couple of incidents, and then Jack Lindsay wrote us his email that talked about a number of complaints to the ethics board, not complaints, but inquiries. And I think he would like to talk about that. And I think we all, as the board, need to talk about it because there's a number of issues. But I would defer it to the January meeting when
With Jackie, you
we can make some decisions at that time.
Okay. Sounds good. Local law number 5, we have a resolution here resolving that the Ancram Town Board adopts local law number 5 of 2021, approving 2022 salaries for certain elected officials. If we approve this, we should be aware that it requires a permissive referendum, which means next week we will publish a notice stating that we approve this law that requires a permissive referendum to give petitioners an opportunity over the next 45 days to submit a petition to either approve or disapprove this action. So the decision tonight is simply to approve the local law.
Permissive referendum is if they disagree with it and they petition us.
Correct.
It doesn't have to be one.
There doesn't have to be one.
No.
You have to have, I think,
Sounds like
10 or 20% of the number of people who voted in the last gubernatorial election have to sign petitions.
right. It would only be if somebody had a problem with it.
I thought it was even better than that.
I think it's
What?
20%.
So it had to be 50% of the landowners.
I think the vote has to be 50% of the community,
15,
50.
50.
the vote,
It's got to be a majority of the people who vote.
but the petition
But
only
the
has to
petition
have.
has to have, I think,
Okay.
10 or
Yeah.
20%. Monica, do you know offhand?
What's that?
Not likely to happen, but anyway, it just kind of sounded like there had to be a permissive.
I'm not exactly totally positive because the last time we did this was when we increased the two, mine and the superintendent's terms from 2 years to 4 years, and that was a permissive referendum that had to go on the ballot. So
Yeah.
I don't think, in my time, we've never done one where like this.
Well, anyway, if we pass the local law tonight, we'll figure it out next week and go from there. So could I get a motion to adopt local law number 5?
So moved.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Second.
Seconded by Madeline. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Now, let me just summarize a couple of things here on the financial reports. We got the reports late because our accountant had computer problems, but the reports were pretty much as we would expect. Year-end cash projection continues to indicate we will end the year with more than $1.4 million in the bank. So we're in pretty good shape going into next year. The Financial Advisory Council met on the 11th, and we, at Bonnie's suggestion, asked for somebody to volunteer to take minutes, and Ann Rader volunteered to take minutes, which I will be circulating to the board in draft form tomorrow. The Financial Advisory Council basically talked about the committee that Will Weiss is setting up to figure out how to spend some of our excess on strategic investments for the town. And that'll be a project that goes on between now and next budgeting season.
What are we calling this committee?
The Strategic Investment Committee.
Okay.
So.
It's a lovely name. I
Sorry?
love it. It's a great.
Carol likes the name.
Carol's on the committee.
Oh.
The other thing I wanted to mention, draft organizational resolutions. We have it in the package. I've been getting feedback from the board chairs. And I would appreciate feedback from anybody who is interested in making comments on it. Carol, I know you've had some thoughts about this. You want to share your thoughts?
Yes, I would. In my letter, signed by 20 people and 24 were late, so they're not on there. I gave all of the reasons why I objected to the current process or non-process, because I didn't know if there was a process. In fact, I called on, I said, how are we choosing people? And So I made several requests in this, and most of them are for the town board to consider. However, I do want to point out that I felt that this process is choosing somebody for these boards is a part, choosing them equitably is a part of the comprehensive plan to improve volunteerism and community input. And because of that, and Hugh, I am sorry to say this because I know it's more work, but because of that, I think that making this process should become, or at least discussed in part by the zoning revisions committee. What is the process to choose people for the planning board, the zoning board of appeals, ethics, and
Board of Assessment Review.
review? And it could be a different, probably could be a different process for each board. I don't know. I'm, as you know, I'm new at this, but I think that it is certainly something that has to be discussed, decided upon. And so that I think you could make a motion if you wanted to give that to the zoning revisions committee, and Hugh, you could comment on that part of mine.
I will.
I want you to know that I considered Hugh my go-to government guru, my GGG.
My concern is lack of focus, in the sense that the zoning revisions committee was established and remains, to my knowledge, to bring Ancram's land use regulations into consonance with the comprehensive plan. I understand, I think, the connection that you're making with board appointments, but I would consider that to be related to, but separate from, land use regulations.
Yes, I agree.
And therefore, I could understand having a ZRC rep on some panel that might discuss this and resolve this, but I don't think the ZRC quite legitimately has, it would be violating the ZRC's fundamental charter for us to be the lead agent.
So you would suggest that there would be a committee that would be formed. I was trying to not give you a lot of work because I made 4 comments here and I know they involve work.
You know, Carol, I think the process now, for better or worse, is based on soliciting for openings via Ancram email and the newspaper. When there's an opening for an alternate or a board member, we publish it. And the choice is from among the volunteers. We can't really recruit somebody who's not interested in joining the committee. So from the people who are interested, we interview them, and a combination of a board member or a couple of members from a committee selecting, or the board selecting, interviews and recommends to the town board. We recently went through this process with the planning board. And because a planning board member is resigning, one of the alternates is moving in. That would be Palma, is going to become the next member of the planning board if the board approves this recommendation. And the 2 alternates that came out of the interview process that the board chair is recommending, one is Colleen and the other is Philip Hack. All 3 of these people.
The question is, how do those decisions get made?
Say again?
The question is, how do those decisions get made? The board members I never saw resumes. I mean, I saw a list of names, but I mean, we ultimately approved the appointees.
Right.
I think we could,
I can certainly send you resumes.
well, I thought you were going to, but you did, but I think what Carol's saying is it's a really insular, if you just pick from the same pool of volunteers, you're never gonna get more volunteers. I mean,
That's just the
in
same pool of
this
volunteers.
case, You just put it out there and you got 7 people.
Yes.
And they were good.
Yeah, so people are interested at this point. I think there's been a lot of years where like nobody really wanted to do it.
Right.
But right now, you have a lot of them, we have a lot of involvement in it. It's fantastic. And I don't know, I think we're hearing that some people want to get more involved, but they can't find their way in.
Well,
So
I
would you
don't-
propose we just get rid of the whole board and put on 7 or 8?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm not proposing that at all. I think
Let's look at the decisions that we're making. What is it about Palmer Irving that troubles you?
nothing. I don't have any problem with anybody that you,
What
it's just the
about, what
process of,
about Colleen?
I don't have any problem with the people.
What about Philip Hack?
You didn't hear me. I said I don't have a problem with the people. I
Then what are
think
we
it's
talking
about,
about?
What
Carol's talking about the process.
Ron Grant?
What about Ron Grant?
Well, has an alternate been pushed up? He has automatically been reassigned, and I personally don't feel that that's fair.
Are you
And I think
talking about the
that-
ethics board?
Yes, and I feel there's another person
He's
on
also
another
a
board
ZBA.
that has automatically been reassigned. That is what one of my main objections are.
Well,
There is where the alternate should come up.
the decision starts, or the recommendation starts with the board chair.
Well, I
Right.
object to that. I don't
Okay.
think he should be.
Let me suggest this then.
Yes,
I put in the note back to you that maybe you should form a committee to examine all the possibilities and report to the board in a month or 2 or 3 what you think we should have as a process. And I think as part of the analysis that you do, you should talk to each one of the board chairs and meet with each one of the boards and get their thoughts on this process. And then come back and tell us what you've learned and what you would propose to be an appropriate way for us to do this. How about that?
it sounds like a lot of work.
Well, if you're not
Yes.
willing to do the
No,
work,
I'm just saying, it
and
sounds
I
like a lot of
think
work.
Bonnie would probably join your committee.
I might get a fair number of people to join.
Kind of like getting volunteers.
However, by that time, we will already have reappointments.
Yeah,
And-
but you know, you can't
Yes,
stop
I
the vote.
know, I
You've
can't.
got to continue to
Yes.
march. If
Yes,
the board chooses not to renominate some of the people on the list, that's the board's prerogative. But it's the total board prerogative, not, your decision or Bonnie's decision. And I think we've all recognized that continuity and institutional memory is important. That having everybody new on a board is
No, I-
interesting, but not terribly
that would be crazy.
beneficial.
No one's suggesting that.
Yes.
I think I would have liked to have been a little bit more informed about how the process works. That's all. I don't think you have to change the process that much, just a little
What
bit
is it
more
about, what
transparency.
is it
and-
about the process you don't understand?
What?
What don't you understand about the process?
I understand the process.
Oh,
I
okay.
think it needs to be more transparent. The board members, we are the ones who reappoint.
Right.
And I think we should really consider that. Usually it's just a cursory, everybody gets
So-
reappointed.
I can share with you, you know who the people are
I don't know who all the people are
who are getting
that were
reappointed.
applied.
No, you know who the people are who are being nominated
Yes,
because they're on the list.
but I don't know. I just like to know how they were chosen. Did you interview everybody and who interviewed them? I think
I
that's
don't
what,
think
that's
some of
what's
these
being
people-
asked by Carol and people who signed her letter. It's not me, it's Carol, and people are questioning this process. As a board member, yes, I would like to know what are the
Would
interviews
you be
happened,
willing to
who interviewed them?
participate? Can you participate on this committee too?
It's not a committee, I'm a board member, I want to participate as a board member.
What
I
can
don't know
I,
what's funny about
what
that.
can I give you that will meet your requirements for transparency?
I would have liked to have seen resumes. I don't know how, most of the people, I know Colleen and I know Phil and I know Palmer. I don't know the rest of the people, what their qualifications were. That's all. I mean, it's not, it doesn't have to be changed so much. It's just how,
So
how,
somebody
this is
who
what
is
the public is being concerned with.
a member of a board who's coming up for reappointment whose chairman wants that person to continue.
Well,
You,
it does the person want it?
the person wants to continue and the chair wants the person to continue.
And
You would still want to open that up to debate. You'd like to see the resume of that person.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed this and I think you're all doing a great job.
Thanks for
Good to see
coming.
you.
What would you like to see, Carol?
I would like to see, rather than a reappointment, an alternate move up. Because I
At what
think
point?
people,
At
I
what
think
point?
people volunteer to be an alternate because they're interested in doing something active. If you keep reappointing somebody, for example, the planning board, a reappointment is for 7 years. So now that is somebody who's there for 14 years. There could be an alternate that's there for 5, 6 years.
You want term limits? Is that what we're saying?
Yeah,
I would love for you to convene a group and think this
I
thing
will
through.
convene when
Think
my
this through.
personal life allows it, because I am interested in it and I will do it.
Because I think this needs a lot of careful, thoughtful
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it does.
analysis. And the best place to get it is from the boards themselves. Talk to the chairs, talk to the individual members. I will notify the board chairs that you're going to take this on, if I may.
Yes.
And I won't give any specific dates, but you'll be in touch after the holidays. And hopefully sometime in the first part of next year, we can get a.
Well, I'm gonna try and get some volunteers first, because it's a big job. Yes, I
And make sure you get the kind of group that you advocate for the boards, which is a cross-section of the community, demographically and in terms of how long they've been here and what they know. You don't want to skew the thing so that everybody on the committee thinks the way you do, that we ought to just blow the thing up and do something different. You need to have balance and objectivity on that group. Okay?
I do have a couple, maybe Monica, you could answer this. No, Ron is on the ethics board and the ZBA. Is he gonna be able to continue?
He's
You know?
going back to work in January.
Oh, is he? Okay. Oh, good.
So I just, I got a
Yeah.
little fired up because, I don't mean to throw you under the bus, Carol, but you should maybe sometimes know your audience when you're throwing out names, because Ron Brandt's my father who almost died. So there was almost 2 vacancies.
No, I think-
was she talking to me?
Yeah, I think she knew that.
But, no, I did not know
Oh,
Ron
oh.
Brandt was your
Oh,
father,
you
but
did
I'm
not.
not,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not downplaying.
And I also think everybody needs to remember that the ethics board, and Jack will reiterate this, it's 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and I think 1 NLP, so that it's balanced across the board politically, so that it doesn't look like it's all one or not
Yes.
one. So I think that's,
I was on that board for a while and I don't know.
And Jack also told me how they choose people. I mean, he got back to me
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, that-
And that's good too.
Sure, I think if you talk.
But I believe
But
that
I-
that kind of thing belongs on the website too. This is how we choose.
I was
Okay,
just wondering how he was doing it, if he was gonna be able to keep going, but I'm glad to hear he's doing better.
Well, yeah, I mean, it almost near killed him, which is why I'm sitting home here today, because I'm scared to death to even leave my house.
I know.
Okay, so Carol,
and I have one other thing. Okay, I got a committee, I got work.
got it.
Okay, but number 5, the one where the list of people on the planning board, since one of them has to be an agricultural member, what I am concerned about is, could we get 4 agricultural members? That would skew it. So I think the public should know that so-and-so, I think there are 2 people who make
well, right now we've got
10,000.
Dennis,
Dennis.
who's going off the board.
Is,
We have Joe Rocco.
Bob Roach,
Bob Roach and Joe Crocco.
and Joe Crocker, so that's two, but why I say that should be there, I think the public should know that since that's
They're the
part of the
agricultural
law.
members.
And that's why I feel that should be put
That
down.
is easy to do.
Yeah, I don't have any job at that.
Okay, Carol, thank you. Let's move on.
I just have one more thing,
Yes.
on the fact committee, we
Yeah.
still have Marie McDermott is still here.
Marie is working from home. She's no longer attending fact meetings, so I'll take her off.
Oh, she hasn't moved yet.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. But she's working remotely and,
Oh,
helping
that
out.
for the building department.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
And I
I just-
assume
I
she's
didn't
not
know if
gonna
it was
wanna
really-
continue on fact, but she might wanna continue via Zoom, so I'll check with her.
Yeah.
If we're gonna let everybody know that we have members on the planning board that are agricultural, we're gonna let everybody know that we have multiple members of the Conservation Advisory Committee on the planning board.
No, the reason I say that, David, is because it's part of town law that says that there must be at least
That's
one.
my question. I'm allowed to have a question.
Oh, I
I
apologize.
didn't ask for you. I didn't, why don't
I
we do this?
apologize.
I think we should make it apparent to everybody that we have multiple CAC members on the
So we
planning
have ag
board.
members, we have cat members, and then we
I
have.
know, but they need to know that. If they need to know that we've got farm members on, they need to know that we've got members from another board.
One is the law and one is not.
What?
One is, I gather it's a law, I'm not sure.
I think people should know that.
Well,
Why is it not beneficial to know that?
It
Well,
I
is.
mean, I don't care, we can keep it a secret, that's fine, we'll keep it a secret.
Well, yeah, the law does require ag members, but we could certainly
You could,
designate people
All
who are
affiliations.
ag members and
I see.
environmental members or whatever.
I think it's a good point.
Yeah, good.
I think if we look at that, quite honestly, and you're talking about not reappointing the next members, you should look at the next two members that are up in 2022 and 2023. You won't be happy if the alternates get advanced and those people don't get reappointed.
Okay, we will talk about this over the next few months and come out in a better place.
Yes.
Thank you, Carol. Anybody else? Bonnie, anything else? David? In the order, okay, you? Anything? Madeline?
No.
Okay, next item here on my little mini agenda, the swearing in ceremony, Sunday, January 2nd, 2022 at 5 p.m. Kathy Resnick has volunteered to swear in Amy and Bonnie and me. And I am suggesting that right after that at 5:15, we have a champagne toast for Madeline. I will bring the champagne. Bonnie and Amy have volunteered to bring the nibblies. And in that context, I have here a resolution of appreciation for Madeline Israel.
Yes.
Resolved that the Ancram Town Board recognizes and appreciates the valuable contributions that Madeline Israel has made to the town of Ancram over the 17 years of her public service on the town board and on the planning board. Thanks her for her commitment to the Ancram community, wishes her continued success in all her future activities, and looks forward to her continued participation in town and community activities. Thank you, Madeline.
So moved.
Say that being on the town board has been a very important part of my life. And I enjoyed it. I sometimes was not so happy with it, but it really meant a lot to me. Particularly after my husband died, it really filled the space that I needed to be filled. With everybody's gone.
Do we have anybody on Zoom?
Madeline, you should know that you got a bunch of thumbs up.
Oh, all right.
You got Zoom applause.
So people are jumping in.
Thank you,
Okay,
thank
that's
you,
great.
everyone, for
So-
giving me the
Thank you,
opportunity, for giving me the opportunity to do this. I really appreciated it very much.
You're an inspiration and a steady hand, and thank you for all your contributions.
So we had a motion from Bonnie. Is there a second? Second?
I didn't
All
hear
in.
the motion. I didn't hear the motion in the second. I didn't hear it.
Okay, the motion on the resolution of appreciation for Madeline came from Bonnie. And the second came from Hugh. And we should do a roll call vote on this.
I think we should.
Okay. Councilwoman Hunt,
Yes.
Councilman Boyce,
Yes.
Supervisor Basson,
Yes.
Councilman Clark,
Yes.
And Madeline has refused,
and Madeline's recused.
abstained. Okay, the resolution has been adopted. Madeline, thank you again.
Thank you very, very
And
much.
everybody, 5:15 on Sunday, January 2nd, champagne toast to recognize Madeline's great years of service. I will send out a notice about the swearing in and the champagne event.
How are we gonna drink champagne like this?
No, we'll just socially distance. Yeah, they do make, there are masks with straws, aren't there?
I don't know, there should be, are there?
Okay.
County knows.
Moving right along, town board members. Bonnie, economic development and housing,
I don't have anything new to report. We're gonna have some more meetings in January.
okay, thank you. Madeline.
I think I said it. Oh, yes. Long last.
Oh, that's very nice.
She does such a great job.
Stacy?
Yeah.
Stacy, she really, really does. It's,
So you gonna pass those around?
I guess I could.
Where will someone pick one up?
I think it's gonna go on the website.
Well, as soon as you send me the thing, I can put on the website.
Okay. I will send
And then you got a bunch of copies here.
Did she make 100 or did she make 50?
Well, why don't you give one to everybody who's here?
Okay, here we go.
Okay, David, anything new on the vehicle?
I talked with Sourcewell on Tuesday, and they are not accepting orders of that vehicle yet. They do not even have prices.
Oh, brother.
They said it could be any day, and as soon as they have information, I will have it. I know I'm on the list. I just, they're not doing it yet. It's crazy. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Madeline. Okay, David, anything else you have to comment on or report on?
No, I'm good. You know where we are.
Okay, we're down to Mr. Clark, local law number 4.
Last month, I introduced to you local law number 4 of 2021, which is a number of amendments to the town zoning law. And last month, concurrent with that, we completed part 1 of the full environmental assessment form, which dealt with the project and setting as the terminology goes. This evening, I would like to extend that by completing parts 2 and part 3 of the full environmental assessment form. I put on the table before each board member a hard copy packet of that. If you want to follow along with the first 10-page segment, which is part 2. Again, this has been prepared for us as usual by Nan Stolzenberg on our behalf, and we are ratifying her preparation. There are a number of points to consider. First of all, the potential impact of the zoning amendments on land. May it involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface? As a law, no, it does not. So that is properly no. Its impact on geological features. Again, resulting in modification or destruction of or inhibiting access to unusual landforms, etc. The answer is no. Impacts on surface water. Are there adverse impacts on wetlands or other surface water bodies? I would say not only no, but hell no on that. One of the features of these zoning amendments is a further protection of our waterways and adjacent wetlands, etc., including the identification of bends, seeps, and other points, even more fully in definitions. Impacts on groundwater. Again, No. Impacts on flooding. May it result in development on land subject to flooding? Not per se, no. Impacts on air. May it include a state regulated air emission source? No. Impacts on plants and animals. Should not result in any loss of flora or fauna? No. Impact on agricultural resources? No adverse impacts. Impact on aesthetic resources? Again, no adverse impacts foreseen. Impacts on historic and archaeological resources? Again, no. Adverse impacts on open space and recreation? Is it going to result in the loss of recreation opportunities, etc.? No. Impacts on critical environmental areas? No. Impacts on transportation? May it result in a change to existing transport systems? No. Impact on energy? May it cause an increase in the use of any form of energy? This law should not do that. No. Impact on noise, odor, and light? Will it result in an increase in such things? No. Impact on human health? May it have an adverse impact on human health from exposure to new or existing contaminants? No. Consistency with community plans. This one's a little dicey worded, but it's consistent with community plans, therefore it's a no. Consistency with community character. Again, it is not inconsistent with community character. No. So considering those 10 pages worth of impacts foreseen on various elements of our existence, we take a look at part 3, which is an evaluation of the magnitude and importance that these amendments will have and a determination of their significance. And as I provided this electronically through Art, and as you have it now in hard copy, Nan has written up the review of part 1 and 2, etc. And I would recommend to you, as Nan does, the determination of significance will be it is a type 1 secret action. We have completed parts 1, part 2. We are now completing part 3. And I would recommend to you the finding that this project will result in no significant adverse impacts on the environment, and therefore an environmental impact statement need not be prepared. Accordingly, this negative declaration is issued. It would be signed by Art as the responsible official. To take a complete look at that neg deck, I would have you turn to the negative declaration resolution that is included, and note that there are 10 whereases. Am I obligated to read each one of those, Monica?
No.
No, I don't think so. No.
I can take a hint. And so the town board, after consideration of the full environmental assessment form 1, 2, and certainly now part 3, resolves that the town supervisor is authorized to execute and sign the fee. That the town of Ancram Town Board hereby declares that adoption of the proposed local law number 4/2021 updates the town zoning law and will not have any potential significant adverse environmental impact. That the town board hereby makes a negative declaration regarding streetcar 6 New York Code RR Part 617 and authorized filing of such negative declaration. And that the town board directs the town clerk to file a notice in the environmental notice bulletin according to secret. And I would now call for a roll call vote, Monica.
Motion.
You need a motion first.
David
I make motion.
made the motion, and Bonnie seconded.
Okay. Councilwoman Hunt,
Yes.
Councilman Boyce,
Yes.
Supervisor Basson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Israel,
Yes.
Councilman Clark.
Yes.
The motion or the resolution for a negative declaration has been adopted.
And Monica has before her, as does each of us, the END notice public form that goes forth then
Right.
after signing. And at this point, we will cease this evening for the reasons are identified before. Based upon timing, we have not received back the review by the Columbia County Planning Board, nor point of fact from the town planning board. So I will leave this until next month for final action. I will tell you at that time, we will also make a notation in it. There will be new verbiage here that changes it from local law number 4/2021 to local law number 1/2022. That will be upcoming.
Good. Thank you very much, you. Okay, I've just got two other resolutions to bring to the board. One is approving contracts for our dog kennels. Resolved, the supervisor is authorized to enter into agreements with the Columbia Green Humane Society and the Pine Plains Veterinary Associates to care for dogs brought to them by the town and the town Ancram dog control officers. These are agreements that we enter into every year, so if I can get a motion to approve that, I would appreciate it.
Motion made.
Thank you, Madeline. Is there a second? Second from David. All in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay, thank you. And the final resolution I have is not even on the list. It's the annual agreement with the Columbia County MIS Department for shared services support. If we approve this contract, we can call on them to provide whatever services we need. We do this every year. They charge us a nominal amount of money for the work they do. So I would like a resolution approving that the supervisor enter into an agreement with the county MIS department to provide services as needed.
I'll move.
Thank you. Hugh made the motion, Madeline seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Jim, are you there? Would you like to make any comments?
There's no Jim Miller.
Okay,
Jim's like.
That's Jim, yeah.
Jim's there?
Jim's iPad is there. He might be asleep.
Hello, I guess I'm on.
Okay,
Congratulations, Madeline. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
As all of you know, we've had a little COVID issue down at the garage. Right now, all 4 of our full-time employees are on quarantine. 2 of them are just precautionary, but the other 2 have it. They're not hospitalized or anything. They're home. Both of those guys are vaccinated, and we'll see what happens out. I hope we get too much Saturday. I've got permission from the health department to bring the 2 guys that are on precautionary in, provided they're still feeling okay, and I have tests for them to take before they can, then they'll get in their truck and go do their routes and not come in contact with anybody. They'll be isolated in their cabs. So that's how we're going to work through that. I guess also have offers to help from a couple of neighboring towns, so we should be all right.
Okay.
Other than that, we've just been doing routine stuff, stockpiling sand and gravel. We had 3 days of snow operations. Hard to believe with this weather today, but I've been having our problem with beavers lately. You know, they've been damming up. There's lots of water for them to play with, and they've been taking advantage of it. I've had to hire a trapper in one instance because they've been a real nuisance. They'll flood the road overnight if we didn't go over there to deal with them every day. And that's about all I got.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Jim? Thank you, Jim. Monica, do you have anything for us?
I picked up the tax bills last week. They're in the trunk of my car. I'm going to go through them and pull the mortgages and stuff. Ag exemptions and senior exemption renewals went out in the mail the beginning of this week, so people should be getting them before they get their tax bills. And I just reiterate, if you see anybody that says that they were supposed to get one of these things and they didn't, that they need to contact us because the postal service has not been stellar lately. And, you know, things are getting lost. So if they haven't gotten a tax bill by the middle of January, they need to contact me or go to the website.
Okay.
I'm also putting a postcard like I did last year in each envelope with each tax bill. Because right now with the COVID count throughout the county, I'm a little bit leery about whether or not we're going to remain open or not. I mean, I think it's, you know, all up in the air. So I am promoting that people pay by mail like they did last year. Of course, the town hall is open at this point and we will have mask protocols and all of that in place. And I have the box on the side of the building if somebody would rather have no contact drop off. That's it.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Monica? Okay. Next board meeting will be the swearing in ceremony, January 2nd. But before we get to the end of the meeting, could I have a motion to approve the budget adjustments, the warrants, and the bills? And I've got some budget adjustments here for you. I circulated them earlier today. If I can find them, I would ask you to sign them.
Final motion, then.
Yes.
Final motion.
Would you like to make the motion? To approve the budget adjustments, approve the vouchers, and pay the bills.
Yep.
Okay, Madeline made the motion. Is there a second? Thank you, Hugh. All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Just one last comment. In the package, I included the 2021 fee schedule for your perusal. Normally, early in the year, we get input from the building department, the planning department, the highway department, with proposed changes. And when those changes are assembled, I will circulate a proposed final fee schedule for the board to approve. 2022. Well, the one I gave you is 2021, and we'll revise it to make it in the best.
Have there been suggestions of changes?
So again,
Has anyone suggested changes?
I haven't seen it yet, but Jay Hoffman has indicated he's going to probably recommend that we increase the amount of the publishing fee because the Register Star has increased its fees. And as we are putting Zoom instructions in these other notices, we're doubling or sometimes tripling the size of the ad. So we're going to have to raise those prices. Hugh, do you have any other thoughts on the fee schedule?
No, I rely on Ed and Jay for much of that. I will be looking at it, but.
Yeah, it'll be a process that unfolds over the next few months. Okay, does anybody have anything else? Yes, sir.
One thing, I'm here really just to introduce myself and say hello. My name is Benjamin Weiner. I'm working with a group of people looking for land to lease or buy for the upcoming cannabis industry for cultivation purposes. And when we do get around to do that, whenever we do buy the land, we very, very much want to work with the town. If the town is not interested, then we know that's a no-brainer. I know you've opted in for retail. This is cultivation, which is not something the town has opted in for, but it's going to be very important that we want to work with the town regardless. So I just want to introduce myself and give you my number, and maybe I'll get on your agenda in the future, but I just wanted to say hello and put a face on it instead of just trying to anonymously contact you. So again, my name is Benjamin Weiner. My phone number is 917-407.
Do you have a card?
I do in the car.
Can you
I'll go to the car and bring it back.
give us 5 or 6 of them?
I will.
That'll be good.
I will.
Can I ask you a question?
You can ask me any questions you like.
Is the cultivation Would that be in the fields or
In a greenhouse,
in greenhouse?
yes.
Most of it's done that way, right?
It has to be in this climate, pretty much, like you only
Okay.
get one season in the fields, and it wouldn't be a good one.
Okay.
So, yeah, it has to be in a
So you have
greenhouse.
to go greenhouse.
Yeah, and, I'm sorry?
How big are the green?
It really depends on the regulations that come out and the tier sizing that they do, and nobody knows the answer to that yet. But the state government is making those regulations, and when they come out, hopefully in the spring, then we'll have some more answers.
Can we leave those here?
But regardless, it can't be seen from the road, it can't, they have to do things like that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, I'll come back with some facts.
One last comment before,
Nice to meet you.
in terms of our ongoing review of the Landstar petition. You and I talked briefly with John Lyons, and he has advised us that the town board is authorized to meet with him without making it a public meeting. This is a legal conversation on a matter that requires legal advice, so we will set up a Zoom meeting, a special meeting where the board and John and probably Nan will meet to talk about the issues, the questions we have, the options we have. And we might want to do 2 or 3 of those before the January 20th meeting. Okay,
Yeah, it's a good idea.
That's a really good idea.
so again,
Yes, I think that's a really good idea.
that was John's idea, yeah.
I think you probably should do it in January so that Andy can participate.
Well, yeah, we can participate now as well.
Yeah, I know, but,
But I think it's a practical matter, given when the holiday is, it may be early January. before we get
yeah,
started.
that's right.
I'll try to set something up for the first week, and get everybody's calendar lined up, and then we'll get another 1 or 2
We
opportunities.
can hash it out with Nan and John.
Yeah.
Can you give this to Amy? I don't know, was there a fixed number of?
There are plenty of copies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for your card.
I've got 3 of them to go ahead. This is my current job, which has nothing to do with the cannabis cultivation, but it has to do with controlled commerce on the winery
It
side.
has the phone number,
But it has my phone,
and which number do we use? And I
917.
Okay, who would like the card?
And please feel free to contact me about
Oh,
it.
sorry.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I make the motion.
Thank you, Madeline. Is there a second? You. All in favor? We're adjourned.
Aye.
No, I don't need one.
David, you hit the